It's Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah. Welcome back to the Know Your Power podcast. What's up, guys? Welcome back.
We're back.
We're back. And today we are talking about confidence, baby, because I want me and Julia and you listening to be our most confident self this year. Mm-hmm. It's the year. We're finally getting over all those little insecurities, okay? If they're still prevalent. They better not be. But if they are, this episode might help you.
I don't want them.
I don't want them either. I don't claim them.
No.
Unclaimed. I wanted to give a little backstory because I feel like you guys met me when I was already pretty deep into like my confidence journey, right? But Julia's seen it and a lot of other people in my life have seen it. I was like the most painfully self-conscious, self-deprecating, like insecure person. And it's okay for me to say that now, but at the time, like I was aware of it and I just thought that's how things were. I thought you were either like born confident or not. I didn't realize it was something you could grow into and learn about and better yourself with. So for a long time, I just like accepted defeat and was like, I'm just the self-conscious girl. I'm just the low self-esteem girl. This way. Exactly. And that is part of the problem is like categorizing yourself in a certain way. But I've done so much self-growth and work in the last few years where I'm like almost unrecognizable to myself, at least. When I think of old me, it's like almost embarrassing.
Would you say like, how long have we known each other now?
We met in like 2020. So like 5 years.
Wow.
Which is nuts.
So would you say like, because when I met you, you were with he who should not be named. Do you think that was one of the lowest points of your overall confidence journey?
I think so, because I think I was naturally very self-conscious and low self-esteem and all the things. And a lot of it was like, I have 3 older brothers who of course made fun of me, but like that's normal with siblings. And the way I talked to myself, and then I had gotten into that relationship, which did not help at all and tore me down even more. So I would say like, while it was probably the lowest, it was never better than that before.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like I just like, I don't know. And it's one of those things where like there's so much reflection to look back on being in such a different place now, but it's like, I don't even know what was causing all of it. Like a lot of it was just like internalized how I viewed myself, which is why I'm like, I've done all these steps now, which is why I want to help the listener where like, if you resonate at all to younger Kendall or like how I'm talking about how I used to feel, then hopefully at least like one of these steps can help you move out of that, because it is so freeing loving yourself. And I was so scared to love myself for so long. And now that I do, I'm like, wow, it's not even something I think about, you know?
I love that. That's cool. I mean, it is cool to get to the point where it's not all consuming. And, you know, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have moments where you struggle with confidence.
For sure.
You know, just like anything else, it's just an ever evolving thing that we're working on, you know?
Yeah.
There's been times, you know, even recently where I'll have moments where I'm like, oh, you know, like I'm feeling like maybe I'm self-conscious in the gym all of a sudden. And I'm like, wait, why am I like this? I mean, I had a moment too, and I was telling my, Know Your Power girls about this on Monday, where when I'm in the gym, I feel I'm like it's one of the places where I am my most confident self, because I'm like, I know what I'm doing, you know, and I wasn't always that way because I didn't know what I was doing. And I felt like everyone was better than me. And I'm like, I'll never get where I want to be. But that's where I feel the most confident.
Same.
So on Mondays, I go and do yoga, and I've gotten really good at yoga. I'm not going to lie, because I've been going for months now, consistently once a week to a very, like one of the hardest classes that they have. And I've gotten really, really good. And I'm like, really proud of that, because I kind of took the mentality that I have in the gym with wanting to progress and get better and stronger. And I was like, what if I just put this into yoga and tried to do it there? And it's really worked. But Monday, they put me next to, I don't know, Miss Swan Lake. I'm not saying they put me next to, but this is really eye-opening for me, because it put me back in a place of being like a gym newbie who was just lacked confidence, and because I didn't know what I was doing, and it seemed like everybody else did, and it just reminded me of that time. And I'm sitting next to her, and I'm over here like, I think I did good. I'm like, yeah, crushing it. And this girl was stunning. She was like, oh,
got her fucking leg behind her head on her hands.
Everything that she did, I was like, wow.
Yeah,
she just looked like she was dancing because everything flowed so beautifully. And I started recognizing that I was like, oh my God, like my confidence was starting to go down. Like I started messing up a little bit more because I was so focused on, you know, what she was doing. And this was all just me.
Yeah.
And I recognized that. And I kind of like in the middle of my practice, like giggled to myself because I was like, Julia, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, you're a bodybuilder. You're built like a little tank, and you're trying to do this thing that is still really, really new for you. So give yourself some grace, and you've already come so far. And I wasn't looking at her in a way of being like, oh, like, man, like I'm jealous or whatever. I was looking at her in like awe.
Yeah,
and
like
being
admiration.
I just kind of want to sit here and like watch you do your thing with the things. But I started noticing that how incredible she was at it. I was letting it kind of deteriorate how far that I have come and what I've been working on. So that's my most recent like recognition of, wow, okay, you know. And I noticed it in practice, and I just kept adjusting it every time that it would come up, and just reaffirming that like, you're in your place, she's in her place.
But exactly like you would look at you and assume like almost the opposite of like, oh, other people are feeling intimidated by you or like how muscular or like badass you are. And that's just proof enough that like everyone deals with some lower self-confident moments.
Yeah.
Like on a daily basis. It's just about like redirecting your frame of mind and things like that, which is like kind of what we're going into. So I'll start with like what confidence truly means is obviously subjective, and like my form of confidence is going to look different from your form of confidence, and how we view ourselves are going to be different in all of the things. But overall, I think, and you can add yours if you have a specific meaning, but confidence isn't about being perfect or looking a certain way. It's about being accepting and also believing in your abilities, like believing in who you are as a person, what you're capable of doing. That can go into external and like believing you're beautiful and all of the things. But a lot of the times it's easier to tackle like who we truly are on the inside first and believe in those first before we're like, oh, and I also love the exterior, and that's great too. Yeah. I also think confidence is the foundation for like building personal life, relationships. Like it's almost like a fundamental block where if you are self-conscious or you don't believe in yourself, it's a lot harder to create like genuine experiences with other people. Where like even last episode, we had answered a question about a girl who was feeling a little self-conscious in her relationship. And it's like, you can't fully show up or be fully present if you're so concerned with how do I look right now? How am I talking right now? Am I being too much? Am I not talking enough? Like all of those like internalized worries keep you from like true connection.
Yeah. And then you can't, it's hard to be yourself because you're just auditing yourself internally from everything that you say, everything that you do. And you're right. You can't be present when you're doing that. And honestly, that's just exhausting. Like it genuinely feels exhausting. And I can think back to that when I didn't feel confident walking into a gym. And I think that a level of confidence also comes with like what Maya was saying, competence, and like knowing that you're good at the thing that you do. Yeah. And that's something that does come with time. You know, it's like when I first started my own business, I wasn't very confident because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. And when I started my social media, I wasn't very confident. I couldn't really talk on my stories because I didn't have the experience of knowing what to do yet. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people that reach out to us, like even about this podcast, and they'll be like, how did you have the confidence to speak on a podcast? And I'm like, okay, you catch me 10 years ago, I would have said, hell no, I am never going to do that. I can barely speak in class and like tell hold, like I just didn't.
Even if you go back to like episode 1, like you can see probably episode 1 through like first 50 or more, you can see how like you can see it in my face and my body language that I'm overthinking everything I'm saying. And it wasn't that, one of those things is like, what's the saying? It's like, do it scared.
Yes.
It's like, do it without the confidence. The confidence will come
scared,
later.
Do it uncertain. Do it like not knowing all of the information. And that's how, we started the podcast. That's how we started our businesses. That's how we got into the gym, is getting past that uncomfortability and then growing off of that.
Yeah.
Because this podcast that we, started doing has grown into other ways to where now you have a YouTube channel. And I feel like it has helped build yourself to be like, okay, if I can speak now, okay, I've spoken on like a microphone for a while now.
Yeah.
Maybe I could go and do like full YouTube videos where I'm speaking to people. So there's a level of confidence that I feel like is also attached to like your amount of knowledge on the subject.
True.
If I go into a call that I'm doing for my clients and I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, I'm most likely going to show up on the call and be a little less confident because I have no idea where it's going.
Exactly.
So there's like that preparation, and that's something that comes with time, and that's something tactical that you can do to help be more confident. Like, get more prepared too.
Yeah, a lot of it's just practice, and even practice in like practicing the practices that bring you the confidence or that do make you feel good. And it's like doing more of the things that do fill you up. Like the gym, of course, like started for everyone. I can't imagine a person that walked into the gym that was like, I own this place.
Shit.
Which I'm sure there's some people out there, but wasn't me. But it very quickly became my safe space and became my escape. And especially for little baby self-conscious Kendall, it was like the place where I felt the most me. So I just was like, okay, let's do that more. And that's why I fell in love with it and why I wanted to take it to the next level of stepping on stage and all of those things. Those wouldn't have came if it didn't become my safe space, and it wouldn't have become my safe space if I never went, So it's just about like finding what fuels you and doing more of that, because when you believe in the things you're doing and you're happy doing them, it's a lot easier to love yourself during it, instead of like if you're in a room full of people you don't really like, or you're not showing up for yourself with integrity and all of the things, you're like, why am I here? Like, I don't feel good right now. This isn't making me feel like a better person or loving myself.
Self.
Yeah, exactly. The second thing is like confidence in your body, because like I was saying before, a lot of the confidence starts from like within. But a lot of people set out on their fitness journey because they do tie self-worth to how they look. It is somewhat inevitable. And I encourage you, especially if you're newer to the gym and again, you're resonating with like some of the things we're saying, we're like, oh yeah, I feel like that. And I compare myself and all the things, is focusing on the things your body can do that
rather than how it looks.
Exactly. So setting goals that are more tied to strength or what you're capable of, or if you are a mother, realizing how much your body just went through to become a mother, because that is like, I have the hardest time and the best time talking to new moms who are getting into their fitness journey, because I do train pre and postnatal clients sometimes, and they so quickly want to get back to college self, teenage self, whatever that looked like. And I'm so quick to shut that down immediately and say, hey, college self, teenage self,
she don't exist.
She didn't carry a child.
Yeah.
She isn't providing life.
Literally.
Like, I know it sounds so apparent, but we sometimes forget it and like want to go back to our past self, when in reality, you're a new self now. And even if you haven't had a child, that still holds true, where our bodies change. You become a woman, your shape is going to look different. So instead of focusing so much on like how to be smaller
and how to go back in time.
Exactly. It's like, let's focus on all of the amazing things your body is capable of. And let's not hide those stretch marks, because that means you either grew muscle or maybe you grew I
have
hips.
Stretch marks from all of my bulking and cutting.
Yeah, I feel like it's just almost evidence of like all the work your body has gone through.
That's how I view it now. Before I was trying to scrape them away and exfoliate them off.
Do you remember like coffee scrubs advertising that? It's crazy.
I just had a kind of not a trigger. I had a flashback to when I was a kid, and I have this, I'm pretty sure it's a mole. I mean, I hope it is, under my boob, my right boob. It's been there forever. I remember hating it so much, and I just unlocked like a childhood memory that I didn't even know was there, that I tried to rip it off.
I did the same thing.
So now if you guys look at it, it's disformed because I tried to rip it off.
Mm-hmm. No, I literally did something similar to something on my arm.
Like if I saw my daughter trying to do that, if I would just cry. And like, I'm also sitting here being like, oh my God, like the links that we will go to for something that we're insecure about or that somebody like makes fun of or whatever. I even remember too, the first time that I shaved, I am Italian and I'm Hispanic. That is a combination for me to be the hairiest gorilla known to man. Okay?
Not gorilla.
I wish that I had pictures of my mom is this way too, and she's going to kill me for saying that. But literally, if you were to put like my ponytail and you were to slap it on my arm, that's what my hand looked like, or my arms looked like. They were really, really hairy. And I didn't think anything of it until someone made me aware that that should be a problem. So this is where confidence can trail so far back to things that people put on you and say about you, and you don't even really notice, because when you're a kid and you're young, you remember just being your absolute, complete, freest self without thinking about, what do they think about me?
Yeah.
Should I say this? When you cry, you cry. When you want to scream, you scream.
Yeah.
When you want to say something, you hear kids say the most ridiculous things without a filter. You know, you just say it. It's because they don't have the experience yet of knowing to be anything different.
Yeah.
So I remember a boy commented, I felt so good about myself. I was wearing
This is going to make me cry.
I was wearing the cutest outfit, and it was like one of those theme days at school, and my sister was wearing the blue one and I was wearing the green one, and I had it on. I was sitting down like on the gym floor because we were lined up for something, and he made like a comment, and I had a crush on him, and it destroyed me. I was like, oh! I went home immediately and I locked myself in my mom's master bathroom, and I shaved without any knowledge of how to. I just knew that my mom did, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then I shaved dry.
Oh girl.
And then I was like, I didn't want to tell my mom, but I was burning and it hurt, and I was like, Mom.
Aww.
I was like, Mom, my arms are burning. I don't really know why. Like hiding my arms from her.
She brings you to urgent care.
And she was like, did you shave?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes. And she was just like, I remember her being just so sweet and like gentle about it. I can't remember the exact details, but I think that my mom experienced very similar things like that because she's Hispanic when she was younger. And she taught me how to do it correctly, you know, and she didn't get mad at me or like shame me. She was just more so wanting me to do it right if I wanted to do it. But I completely forget my point of saying this, honestly, as I'm telling the stories.
Well, I was just talking about like, instead of focusing on your body's physical, focusing more of like what it's capable of.
Yeah, what I said really has nothing to do with it.
Ties in a bit.
But it's just like the confidence can go so deep and it can go so far.
Yeah.
You know, the things that we're insecure about, you know, they may come from us. They may come from other things. And one part about my body changing in the off season is focusing on the performance and the endurance and how I feel in my body rather than how I feel looking at my body. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's really helped me because there's a sense of empowerment that you can have when you walk around and you're shredded and you know it. There's also a sense of empowerment that you can have when you know that you're strong beyond belief and
your
you know
energy's high.
And your energy is high and you don't feel like death. And
that too, when it comes to like goal setting for the gym, it's like focus more on consistency and showing up for yourself and like all of the other benefits that come with going to the gym, instead of being like, we've talked about this forever ago now, so I'll reiterate, but it was like, don't tie your self-worth to the end result or you won't be happy the whole journey. Like if you're like telling yourself, oh, I'll be confident when I lose my 10 pounds or I'll be happy when I lose my 15. It's like, oh, instead just like focus on how good you feel going today.
That's a lot of time where we delay our happiness for a specific date, whether it's like, I'll be confident when I do X. I'll be confident when I do this with this. And then sometimes you get to that point and it's still not enough for you because there's deeper things that need to be addressed rather than thinking that this trophy is going to fix it. You know, a relationship will fix it. You know, it always starts with you first.
That's why I kind of like laugh at the old me sometimes, is because like, I stepped on stage. I was competing. I was the leanest I've ever been. I was all of the things. I was the most disciplined I had ever been. And I was still the most self-conscious. Yeah. Like it really has no tie.
It really doesn't.
And you can think it does all day and maybe you'll get like a little confidence boost, but not enough where like, okay, now it's post-show and now I really am hating on myself because now the one thing I was tying my self-worth to is over, you know? So it's just about setting, you can of course still have physique goals, just not tying your worth or confidence to those and instead focus on things that like actually fuel you and like how you feel, which is what you were saying. And that kind of goes into like the mental and emotional side of confidence, which this was, in my opinion, the biggest change because like I'm saying, physical could change all day and it won't really matter if you don't got the mental emotional side down. I think my biggest pet peeve now, because I was this person, is when people talk bad about themselves, especially outwardly to other people. We all have someone in our life, or maybe you're that person in your life where you can't take a compliment. You have to shut it down. You constantly vocalize how negatively you feel about yourself. And this was a huge reframe for me because I did this so much to the point where I thought it was my sense of humor. Like I thought self-deprecating humor was like my personality trait because I almost felt like I needed to beat people to the punchline. If I was gaining weight, I felt the need, even if it was like a healthy weight, I felt the need to like joke about it because I was like, they're going to notice I'm gaining weight. They're going to notice my acne's bad right now. They're going to notice my hair's greasy. So I felt the need to say it.
They're already thinking it, so I might as well just tell them.
Exactly. When in reality, nobody is thinking those things literally at all. And now you're drawing attention to it. And now you're making yourself feel worse and almost like putting your own negative self-thoughts on them and being like, you have to think this way too.
Yeah. You're telling people how to think about you, even though they might not have done that in the first place.
They probably aren't. One of my favorite trends right now, which some people are taking like as a joke, but it is a good trend. People are sharing photos they never posted about themselves. Have you seen this? It's like kind of like a swipe where it'll be like, I didn't post this. Or it's kind of like what they said to themselves. So let's say it's like a selfie I took and it's like, ew, why would I take this? Next slide. I bet you didn't notice that my one eye was closed more than the other. And that like, they're kind of pointing out why they didn't post it or the flaws they saw. And it is so true where all of these, I'm just like, wow, that's a beautiful woman. And I swipe and I'm like, you didn't notice I was like struggling with acne scars right here. And it's like, I literally have to go back and be like, I still barely notice. Like all these things we hyper focus on and assume people are going to see or say or think about us. 99% of the time, one, they don't care. And two, they're not looking for that. Like never in my life have I seen another woman and been like, her acne looks bad. And yet when I was struggling with acne,
you're like, they're definitely doing that.
I assumed people were staring at it everywhere I went, you know? And that can go into like the gym too. Like, of course, there's like the assholes, but who wants to associate with those anyway? When you're new to a gym, most people are so focused on them and their workout, they don't care that you're there, respectfully. Kind of gives me peace of mind that like, no one's focused on what weight you're lifting. No one's focused on, oh, I bet she ate more before this workout. Like nobody else is noticing the things we're thinking.
Yes.
So why put it out into the universe anyway?
Yeah. And I think on the terms of the gym too, or just out in public in general, what's crazy is that if you're sitting there thinking all of these things about yourself, like in your own internal world, and then you're also assuming that everybody else is, it's honestly kind of crazy because if you're doing this in your internal world, just imagine what's going on inside these other people's internal world.
Yeah.
You know, the girl that's right next to you that maybe you're like, oh man, like she looks really good. She's looks so muscular. Like, oh wow, her outfit's really cool. And then you start to kind of diminish your light because of that, she could be standing there being like, oh my God, this girl next to me, she's so strong. I wish I was that strong. Dang, I wish that my hair would look good like that.
Exactly.
You just never know. And people are so caught up in their own BS in their own head to think that everybody is like, you're the star of everybody else's show. You know what I mean?
And it's like, you're not. Sorry to break it to you.
Like, anytime that I'm get into my head, like being in public or at the gym, I kind of would correct myself and be like, girl, first of all, everyone else is going through their own little demons in their head right now. And also, you're kind of just assuming that you're the star of their movie.
Yeah.
You know?
It's kind of goofy when I have to like take a plate off of a certain like movement because I don't feel as strong as usual that day. And I almost like get embarrassed and I'm like, people are knowing I'm going down in weight. And it's like literally nobody's looking at you. And if they were, they're probably like, oh, she's doing a drop set. Like, no one cares. Like, no one's like, she's weak today.
They were like,
she thought she could lift that.
Kendall was weak and she had to take off a plate. Let me document that.
So one of the things I feel like can actually help reframe this is building habits that support a strong mindset. So if you're not journaling, that makes the biggest difference. And I was having a conversation with a client yesterday and she finally started journaling. And I was like, yes. And she had said to me, I can't believe it took me so long. And I said, well, why weren't you before? And she said, I didn't feel like I was ready. Like, I didn't feel like, she felt this expectation to journal perfectly. And if you can't journal perfectly or you don't know what to say, you can't journal. And I'm like, I've definitely done that too, where I'll be goal setting and I'll rip the page out because I don't like how I wrote it. And it's like, that's its own form of self-sabotage and putting back this work you know you need to be doing and these conversations you know you need to be having by writing it off as like, oh, well, I'm not like ready yet or perfect yet or whatever. So doing these practices, even if you're bad at them.
Yeah.
So journaling's
There's no
one.
right way to journal, by the way.
By the way, at all. Like literally sometimes I write like a couple sentences and that's it. And sometimes I dive like my whole heart and soul into a journal entry. Second thing is affirmations, which this one too, I always heard other people talking about. And I was like, ain't no way I'm standing in the mirror telling myself I'm beautiful.
Cheese balls. No, I ain't doing that.
Exactly. And also I was like, I know I'll be lying to myself, so it's not going to work. And then I started, and I've shared this in the past too, but in case you missed it, I started with things I truly, truly believed. I started with, I love how strong I am. I love how much I love other people. I love my heart. I love my intentions because I feel like I go into every situation with pure intentions. And just these like characteristics about myself, instead of standing there being like, I'm so hot and beautiful and nothing is wrong with me, because those felt fake to me. So I started, and the list was really short. I started with like one or two things that I could really tie. Okay, I'm confident here. I'm confident when I'm in the gym. I'm confident when I'm helping other people in the gym. Like these little things made me slowly realize every time I would write them out or say them to myself, the list got longer because I started realizing, oh, I'm also confident over here, or I also love this thing about myself. And then eventually it became physical, where of course everyone has insecurities and things we don't love about ourselves. But it's more about acceptance than feeling like you need to be overly positive all the time, where now there's some days I'm bloated, and I used to treat being bloated like it was the end of the world, where I was like, okay, now I hate myself and I'm never going outside. And now I go and I will voice it outside sometimes still, because that's what I need, where I'll go, oh, I'm bloated today. It was probably that thing I ate. I'll be better later today. I'll take my digestive enzyme, instead of feeling like it's the end of the world, just seeing like, oh, what could I do today to like maybe combat this so I feel better? Like I don't have to feel perfect, but it's okay to not feel like this is the end, you know?
Exactly. Your world is ending.
Yeah.
I think too, like on the journaling aspect of it, what makes it so good for you is that, for one, the journal's not going to judge you.
Yeah, it's literally just you.
It's just a piece of paper that you're writing things on. And one of the most common things that I hear from people that are resistant towards journaling is, I don't want to know what's inside my head and I don't want to see it come out. And I totally get that. But think about it like this. Do you want those thoughts to stay in your head, or would you rather put them all out on paper
and then never think about them again?
Be able to see them? Because the thing that helps me, and the reason that I journal so much, I posted on my Instagram story, like maybe a couple weeks ago. I was cleaning out some stuff after Zach had moved out. And I have this box that has every single journal that I have ever filled up since 2000. I think since I was 8 years old.
It's insane.
It's like 14 to 15 full journals. That's how long I've been doing it. And whenever I journal now, anything that is going on inside of my head, I always like to describe it as like bees buzzing in my head. I know that if I go and I journal and I see it out on paper, it now goes out of my head and into the journal. And it allows me to see visually the things that I am going through and feeling and maybe being a little kind of crazy about, you know? And I have solved so many problems and recognized a lot of things by doing that, because I am not the kind of person that can like sit there and like do math in my head. I'm also not the kind of person that can sit there and think through my problems in my head and be like, okay, I have the answer. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing with things that I'm going through on the piece of paper, writing it out. And it's almost like solving a math problem. Oh, this is why I was feeling less confident today. Because I kept thinking this same thing over and over. And because maybe I saw this and because maybe I saw this. And now the buzzing bees in your head are gone and it's a little bit quieter. So
I agree. And
that's why I do it.
I feel like journaling is almost, well, it is like self-therapy, where sometimes people feel like, and me included, you only need to go to therapy when things are bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those practices, if you upkeep it, you will continue to unlock like new parts of yourself and continue to grow and evolve and gain confidence. Where, like we said in the very beginning of this, like you don't just like gain confidence. Oh, okay, never need to think about that or worry about that again. Which if you could, that'd be nice. But it is like an ongoing practice where now, even sometimes I'm like, I don't need to journal. I have like not much on my mind. When you actually sit down to do it, a lot comes out and you're like, oh wow. I didn't even realize I was like subconsciously thinking about all these things or worried about all these things. And it's so like nice to see it on paper. And I'm like, we're two very self-aware people. But even though I'm self-aware of some of my problems, I like push them back and I'm like, we'll address that later. Where journaling about it and having it right in front of you gives you the opportunity to just like tackle it then and there instead of like letting certain thoughts or things fester and get worse.
Yeah.
You know?
And I always tell like my clients that even if you start journaling and you're auditing yourself and you're filtering yourself, and even if you're writing and journaling and you say, Julia is making me do this. I hate this. What do I write? Blah, blah, blah. It's getting yourself into the practice of being more open in the journal. And that's why we have the Know Your Power journal, because it's a guided journal. So if you don't know what to write about, then it guides you.
The last thing I have on like the mental and emotional confidence, because again, this is the one I feel like I'm constantly doing the most work in, is setting boundaries and surrounding yourself with uplifting people. This is so important. I'm a very go with the flow person anyway, so I don't usually like feel the need to like say no to things or like have hard boundaries. And I realized a lot of that going with the flow of things was actually making me unhappy, because I ended up, again, like I said earlier, in certain rooms with certain people where I was like, why am I here? I don't feel good. These people aren't making me feel good. I'm not providing anything to their conversation. I don't feel valued. Like, when you notice you're in rooms like that or saying yes to certain things like that, or in certain work environments even, recognizing when you need to set boundaries or have change. And I feel like we get so many DMs and messages about family too. If you have family members putting you down, it is so important to protect your peace and protect like the things you're working on and your own self-growth, where sometimes you need to realize when to not talk to certain people, which is hard for me. I'm a yapper, but there's certain people in my life where I'm like, I just need to like keep certain things to myself. It makes me feel better. Then they're not giving their like own input on my life and what I'm doing. So I'm allowed to feel confident in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because if you finally start like believing in yourself and then someone's like, oh, like you're not doing that right, or like you're going to fail, then it's so easy, especially like as someone who is a vulnerable person, to instantly go back in time and be like, I'm 12-year-old Kendall again and I hate myself and I'm going to give up.
Especially if like you're on your journey to self-acceptance and being confident in who you are. You're like, okay, I just made 5 steps forward and that sent me like 3 steps back. And, you know, so I always go into the situation, and luckily I don't have anybody in my life as of right now that makes me feel that way. But I will walk into the room, and when I leave, if I feel more confident about myself, like more empowered, I'm like, great, which is all my friend groups right now and my family. But then if I'm leaving and I'm like, if you feel kind of like, I always like to say icky. If you're like, I don't know what it is really, but you feel a little icky. You feel a little down. You don't feel as like confident as when you walked in the room. That's your sign that maybe these people aren't helping you in the confidence area. And it might not even they're saying things that are directly related to you, but maybe they're saying it about themselves. Maybe they're being self-deprecating. Maybe they're just very, very, very negative. And you're like, I'm trying so hard to not be like that. So assess how you feel when you leave social situations. Are you more energized, more confident, empowered, or you just feel like, ugh.
I feel like it's really easy to tell. Like, we all got together, our little friend group, on Saturday, and I like went home and it was like 11 p.m. But I was like, I feel so good right now, and I'm so excited for this new year and all the things. Versus like, I've definitely had friend groups or like certain social interactions, or like even if it's like a networking thing or like,
and you're like, whatever, I don't feel good.
You leave and you're like, I'm exhausted and I'm drained and I don't want to see those people again. It's like, listen to those, or like at least have conversation with those. So if there are people in your life where you're like, hey, I'm doing all this growth, I would love for you to come with me. You could always like, don't teach them or talk at them, but like, just start conversations about it of like, like even us, when we used to do photo shoots, like all the time, you called, I think, all of us out of like, hey, when we take these pictures, all of us are so fast to say something negative about ourselves. Can we stop doing that? And all of us actually listened, and we actually stopped doing that, which is so nice. But like, I don't think I would have even recognized I was doing it if you didn't point it out, you know?
Exactly. So if you need to be that person in the friend group and be like, hey, I've noticed that like all of us are kind of doing this. Like, maybe we should just not, you know?
Maybe we should stop.
Maybe we should, how about like not? Because obviously it might just be something, like you said, it's, there's sometimes where you just start believing that, okay, this is just life. This is just how life is, how it's always going to be, but that it doesn't have to be. And you could be the one to really change that and to make people aware of like, hey guys, it's getting a little negative up in here. Let's change the subject. Let's
I've even had different. Like some clients say to me, or like friends say to me, when they are being self-deprecating, and I hold my friends accountable and I go, why are you doing that? They're always, I don't like, it depends when they've come into my life, right? But like some of them are like, oh, you wouldn't get it because you're confident. And I'm like, dude, did you not see who I was a few years ago? Like, this is an active practice and choice. It's not like I wake up every day and like it's sunshine and rainbows and everything is great. It's like I just make it a point to myself to not say certain things about myself anymore. And I want to help you do the same if I can. And same to everyone listening, where it's like an active choice. This girl DM'd me. Should have saved it. Best DM ever. I did screenshot it, where she said, you make, this was like the best thing ever. I read it to my family. She said something along the lines of like, you make having IBS and having a deviated septum cool. And I was like, that is the biggest compliment I could ever receive, because those are things I used to like absolutely hate about myself. And it's just about accepting them and realizing like, oh, we all have those things. Why not talk about it? You know? So it's just like little things like that where you can still recognize like flaws or whatever, because we all have them, but not giving them as much attention or like bringing other people down with you, I guess. The last kind of section of confidence is social confidence, which this was probably like my biggest hurdle as a socially introverted, anxious girly.
Both of us have really improved in this area.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So one of the biggest things is like how you carry yourself walking into a room, right? And I actually feel like it started for me using you and my mom as an example, because when I watch both of you, and you may not have thought this at the time either, but the way you guys both carry yourself is with like such class and confidence that like it's almost like an energy shift, or I hate the word, but it's an aura, like an aura you give off. I love the word. I hate the current
TikTok
word.
ruined aura.
The true sense of the word of aura, where like you walk in with a presence and people are like, whoa, I want to know more about that girl, because you carry yourself so highly. And that's something, again, I was like, some people are just born with it. But in reality, as much as it's like a funny saying, you kind of have to fake it till you make it. Where I started hyping myself up, and sometimes I still do, before walking into certain situations. Every day when I walk into the gym, even though it's my happy zone, I still play certain songs. And I get into a headspace and I'm like, I'm cool as fuck right now.
I'm on the way to the gym and I'm like, you're the baddest bitch that ever graced this planet, and you're gonna lift everything.
So sometimes it's fully just like a mindset thing, where instead of being like, people are looking at me and they're judging me, and I need to get to my piece of equipment as fast as possible because I don't, exactly, versus like wearing an outfit that you feel so good in, listening to music that uplifts you. It allows you to like walk into a space in your like most cool self. One thing I used to do is like visualize, what would I be almost in like a video game or like in a movie? Like, who do I want to be? And like, not her, because I'm pretty sure she's bad and I actually haven't seen this movie, but like Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, is that what it's called? The
I think so,
queen. Just that vibe where I'm like, she is a badass. She's kind of scary, but like in a cool way, and she's beautiful. So every time I would have to
definitely give that vibe. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
She's like a little scary, but also like, ooh.
Yeah. She's just
Kendall's like, I'm just like the creepy cool girl.
Where like, but that was something I fully had to visualize, and I would pretend I'm like fully in this gown, even walking into a gym or a grocery store or just out of my house. It's like I had to visualize myself as this other person. And then eventually, like you're saying, is now that is the vibe I give off, where it's kind of like, it becomes you. One day you wake up and you're not faking it anymore. But setting intentions before walking into spaces, and
literally,
like, it's fully how you view yourself is how you convince yourself other people are viewing you. And that comes to fruition, where like, I made this joke probably like a year ago on this podcast, and I still do it. When people look at me in the gym, I used to go, they're judging me, they're looking at this, they're assuming I'm weak, they see my cellulite, I didn't self-tan this week, whatever. And now I go, they're in love with me. You need to, of course, not everyone's in love with me. I'm not actually insane, but I have to tell myself, oh, these people love me.
Yes.
Because if I don't, then it's so easy to, and also it's not that crazy. Because if you're telling yourself all these lies about that, what they might be thinking.
If you're making up some distorted reality, that's crazy, bitch.
Might as well make it positive.
Yes. I think that we should replace like the fake it till you make it to like be Delulu till you make it.
Literally.
Like Delulu till you are
Delulu till I die.
I don't know. Delulu till it's Tralulu. That's our new saying. Okay. And it's so true, because there's so many women, us both included, that when somebody looks at you, you automatically assume there's something on my face. They're looking at my makeup. They're noticing a pimple. They're judging me. You assume all of these different things. And most likely it's not the case. Most likely she's not looking at you. Most likely she's looking at somebody else. Most likely she's Kendall or me, and we're just dozed off and glazed over at the gym, and you just happen to be right there in the way. But most of the time that is the case. So if you need to be a little Delulu till it's Tralulu, please. They're in love with me. They love my outfit. Any of those things.
Anything positive. Like if you're making assumptions about someone else's thoughts, might as well make them positive. Because what is assuming they're thinking negatively? What is that doing for you?
It's not.
Like it's doing nothing but tearing you down even more. And 99% of the time, again, it's one of those things where like, it's a assumption based on your own internal thoughts. So if you're not in an outfit you feel good in, if you didn't do your normal practices or set intentions, or you didn't journal today or set your affirmations, and
or you're on
like,
your period and you're bloated, or you're not as strong in the gym, and you're like, whatever, you're feeling some type of way about something, and now you're assuming that everybody knows. You're also, it's like you're assuming that you have a sticker on your head that says, someone comment about how ugly I look. Like, I want to share this because it's also something that, you know, me and my sister have been helping my mom with, but there will be times where I'm looking at my mom in the eyes when she's talking to me, and she goes, what? What are you looking at? And I'm genuinely just looking at how beautiful of a mother I have.
Aww.
And I am always so proud to walk around with my mom. Same. Because you guys have seen my mom. Y'all have seen her like on my Instagram and stuff. And every time people see her, they're like, how does she look that good? And I'm like, literally, I don't know. I better look like that when I'm her age. And, I'm literally looking at her, and that's what I am looking at her thinking. I'm like, wow, my mom is so pretty, or she's so adorable, or she's so like silly. And then she just assumes that like there's something on her face, or that her makeup's messed up. And I'm like, literally no. Yeah. Literally no.
I was the same way as that for a long time. And I still get that way sometimes, where like is reverse, where when my mom looks at me, I'm like, what? And she's like, just love you. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. You're like,
where it's so fast to be defensive or make assumptions. And then when you hear like, oh, other people typically have pure intentions. And again, if they don't, it's back to the set the boundaries, spend less time with those people. True. If they are making comments, why are you around this person? You know, you should only be around people where you feel confident that when they look at you or when they speak to you, they care about you and love you and all of the things. But it is easy to assume the opposite.
Yeah, it's kind of like expect the best out of people and instead of expecting the worst. Just like in the gym when you see someone looking at you, instead of expecting the worst that they're thinking, expect the best.
Love with you.
Mean, they're in love with you. They want to marry you.
It's so funny. And I can't reiterate enough. I know not everyone, I'm not everyone's gym crush, but when you tell yourself you are, just try it. When you're listening to this, when you go to the gym today, tell yourself that everyone who looks in your direction, they're in love with you. Yeah. It seriously shifts your own energy, because you start to go, oh, I'm in love with myself too. Like, of course they should be. I'm in love with myself, you know? And it is one of those delulu till it's true.
Tralulu.
Where eventually, I obviously don't actively think that anymore, but I don't assume the worst anymore, you know? So it's just like reframing your brain. Another thing is like how you interact with other people. The same way you assume the worst, people probably assume that about you. I've made it an active choice that I think compliments about people all day, because I love admiring people and looking at people's outfits.
Did
and
you just say you think compliments about people?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I've made it like an active, because it is hard for me since I am so introverted. Now I every chance I get to speak it, I try to speak it now. And of course I still get in my head sometimes, and I'm like, she probably has headphones in and can't hear me, and then I'm going to be embarrassed or whatever it is. But now, like, if I'm getting coffee and I like the girl's nails, I'll compliment her nails. Like something I used to just think internally, I just make it a point to say something now, and not out of like, this is going to make them feel so good. It's more of like a self accountability thing of like, let's be nicer to people.
Put out the thing that you want to see more of also, because you might not even realize it, but that girl that is at the gym next to you, that girl that's in the coffee line next to you, she could be sitting there going through some shit. She could be thinking those terrible thoughts about herself, and you, a stranger, simply saying, I love your outfit, could change her day, her life, her outlook, and you have no idea. And you're letting like maybe your own insecurities cause you to not do that. And look, there's also the group of people that's like, I've tried this before, and they just like stared at me or looked at me. To me, when I hear people say that, it's like, now you're just putting out more of the energy that you don't want to receive. Yeah. And you also don't give expecting to receive anything. You give freely.
Yes.
And that's it.
So same with the opposite. If someone compliments you, this took me a long time.
Oh yeah.
Just accept it.
Yeah.
There's something like, have you ever complimented someone and like, even if it's a stranger, not someone you know, and they instantly like put it down so much to the point where you're like, okay, I'm sorry.
So when I was working with one of my mentors, she used an example that really, really helped me when accepting compliments. And it was like, if you get complimented and your first thought is to downplay it, like, oh, well, my hair doesn't look that, oh, it's dirty or it's this. It's like someone's trying to give you a gift and you give it back.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I don't deserve this.
You're like, no, take this
yeah.
back. And like, they're trying to love you and show you something. So also kind of keep that in your awareness of when people compliment you. How do you receive it? A simple thing that you can say is like, thank you, I received that. You don't have to, there doesn't have to be like oh, but my hair is dirty or something like that.
Or the same thing in feeling like you need to compliment someone back.
You don't
recognizing
have to do that.
It is a gift. And when I compliment people, I don't expect anything, but at most is like a thank you so much. Like that means the world to me hearing back. If you ignore me, I don't really care. I was giving you my compliment anyway. Yeah. And if you put it down, then it does become a little uncomfortable where you're like, okay, I'm so sorry for bringing attention to that, I guess.
This actually happened to me yesterday. So yesterday I went and got coffee with Ian, and this guy was wearing this, he was stunning. Like, he was wearing a full aloe yoga outfit and he was in line for coffee and he looked fabulous. I was like, oh my God. And he had this long, you know how much I love the long floor length fuzzy jackets. And it was from Aloe Yoga. And I like went and looked at him and I was like, your jacket is awesome. All he did was look at me and he didn't say anything. And I was like, okay. I don't, there's your first instinct might be, okay, wow, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
This person is mean. That was so embarrassing. And that used to be my thing. But I went and I started like mixing my coffee. And the first thing that I thought of was like, I really liked that jacket and I want to go get that jacket. And he needed to know, even if he didn't hear me, even if he thought it was weird, I don't care. And then I just kept going on my doodad day, which in the past, I would have literally thought about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, I get that. The thing I think the most about is the compliments in person I have received have all stuck with me. There was this one girl, literally like 9 months ago, I was at a World Market looking at something with my mom and she came up to me and she was in like a full dark sport outfit and looked so sick. And she was just like, I just wanted to tell you you're beautiful, and like walked away. And I was like, I still think about that woman every day. So just think about like the impacts that they make on you and that you can make on other people too. And that helps the social interaction of it all, where like, again, as a very introverted, very socially anxious girl, I totally get like talking to strangers is not my most fun part of my day.
Yes.
But every time you have a good interaction, it means so much to me, where it like really sticks with me. And I feel like those little things of being like on the days where you are struggling and you're like, but that random girl in World Market thought I was beautiful
10 years ago.
Like it really doesn't matter who it's coming from. It just feels good. So why not like share more of that too? And that helps you walk into rooms being like, I feel good because I'm putting good energy out. One of my favorite quotes is, be the energy you want to attract. Love that. And I used to write that one all the time when I was not putting out good energy. And it made me like finally, again, being Delulu, like start working on that and like faking it until I made it where I was like, I'm going to start being the person that I would love to be friends with, you know? And if you're not that person, then it goes all the way back to like square one of like finding out why. Like, why do you feel this way? Have conversations with yourself, work on your mental side first so that you're able to show up for other people.
And even if that is like giving yourself, like the introverts out there that are just nervous about, putting yourself out there, the way that it started with me was like one small uncomfortable thing like a week.
Yeah. Same.
And that was, okay, you're going to go up to this one girl at the gym that's like literally just right there and you're just going to compliment her outfit. And in my head, I was like, okay. I was like, all right.
You got this.
I was like 3, 2, 1, 0, -1.
Nice outfit, runs away.
No, and then that's how hard it was. And then you can get to the point where, all right, I did one. And then you're like, now, okay, let's try another thing. Like a little acts of just getting a little bit out of your comfort zone to now you can just be like, yo, girl, you look sick. Yeah. And then I'll not even care if she notices you or says anything back. You just know that I meant that.
Yeah.
And I walked away.
Yeah.
The other thing that has really helped me in developing like the confidence in social situations, especially when I'm on stage, because one of the things that people say about my posing when they see me pose is just like the confidence that I have when posing. And I always giggle because I'm like, yeah, you should have seen me when I first started posing, because it is something that I'm very proud of, because I know how I felt. I even posted there was a snippet on one of my videos where I was posing and I went like, I made like a face because I was just so unconfident because I didn't know what I was doing yet, which of course. And the one thing that I say to myself before I'm walking into any of these social situations, because sometimes I'll go back to that little introverted, scared girl who didn't really want to talk to anybody, that would hide in the bathroom at parties. That's what I did.
Me too.
They couldn't find me and they always knew to go check the bathroom because I was hiding in the stall.
Dude, I used to go eat lunch in my car every day of high school just to not be around people.
Yep. It was just too much.
Yeah.
And I just say to myself before I step on stage, before I walk into the gym, before I'm about to like speak in front of a group of women, before I'm going to a new place that I'm just not really certain of, what would the most confident version of me do? And then I walk into that space. And it really, really helps me. So if that's something that you guys need to take into your everyday life, please take it. And then I also I'm correcting myself throughout the day.
Same, yeah.
And now I just do it on repeat. There's times where I'll be walking into the gym with my head down and I go, pick your head up. Because for me, it's like, why are you covering your face? Be proud, like chin up. Or I'll be like slunched over and I'm kind of just like, and I'm like shoulders back. All day. I'm like, what would the most confident version of you? Head up, shoulders back. Yeah. You deserve to be here.
She would interact with people. Like, she would smile. Boom. She would be nice.
Yes. Like, it's just like, correct yourself. Like even your body language, or when you're starting to, like I was in yoga, instead of just spiraling about this beautiful, like Swan Lake girl, I was correcting myself. Like in that moment being like, no, she's beautiful and badass, and that doesn't.
And so are you.
And she's so good at yoga, and that's amazing. And you are beautiful and badass, and you're doing the best that you can, and you're putting in the work. Like their light doesn't need to diminish yours whatsoever. Absolutely. You guys we can all be the most confident version, and that doesn't have to diminish anybody else's around you. I was going to say,
same thing with like the whole negative self-speech, because I feel like that's just like the most common, I guess, side effect of being self-conscious, is you feel the need to talk about it or think about it all the time, and you dwell on it. And when I try to help people or like talk about how I got through it, it's like, just saying it less. Just start with that. Like, you can't expect yourself to be perfect in these practices and being like, I'm never saying anything negative about myself again. It's about, okay, when I do, shutting it down or realizing a positive trait right after, or just accepting that thing. And then eventually it becomes, okay, I'm no longer vocalizing these things, but they're still in my head. And then it becomes even reframing your own thoughts, which I know sounds funny, but sometimes, and we both do this, you'll have a thought and you'll kind of just be like, that was stupid. Why did I think that? That's
why in that class, I have gotten to the point where I can giggle about it now, you know,
because it is kind of funny.
Yes. Because I'm like, girl, you know, and I was just like, and I was, cause now I'm aware of what's going on, when before the thoughts, they ruled me. Now I know I am the thinker of my thoughts. I'm the one who chooses whether I amuse that thought. You know, our brain's job is to think. We have over 60,000 thoughts a day.
More if you're an overthinker.
You're the one. This is its job. Its job is to do that. It's to problem solve. It's to come up with every reason why this isn't going to work. Or it's its job. It is now our job as the person with the brain up there to discern which ones we would like to adopt or not.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like just learning when those negative thoughts come, because they still will. The growth is just being able to move past it, or to fully think the opposite. Where like I used to see a tall, blonde, skinny girl and be like, oh, she's beautiful. I'll never be that. I'll never do this. I start comparing. And now I'm so quick to be like, wow, she's beautiful. I'm going to go tell her.
Yeah.
Like just like fully thinking of it and viewing things in a different way. And when you aren't so miserable and trapped in your brain, it's a lot easier to view things objectively. So I know this sounds like so much easier said than done, but it's all the little practices and the little corrections, and they add up. And I'm telling you, be delusional. I know it sounds funny, but like, I don't think I would be a confident person now if every day I wasn't like, you got to fake it today, Kendall.
No,
and eventually
Kendall,
I stopped.
It's Delulu until it's Trululu. Okay, guys, everybody say it in the comments.
Say it with us.
Say it with us, because it you're right.
Yeah.
It starts with these little things that build, that give you like the momentum, and then that momentum takes you into a more confident version of yourself, then a more confident version of yourself.
Yeah, I know I'm like probably only like halfway through my journey.
Yeah, I can't wait. Show this. I just know that with everything that has been going on after the last episode, I'm like, I can't wait. I'm almost like evil about it. Not evil. What's the word? I'm like,
no clue.
For me, this is how my brain works. I'm like, you guys haven't even seen. I'm like, you ain't even ready for this next version of me by this time next year.
It's exciting to think about.
I'm like, you ain't even ready.
And if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I can't view myself in that way, just start today. Just like, I challenge you. So this is a challenge I give my clients and my friends and people in my life who are actively negative self-thinking and speaking, is try to go 3 days. Like, let's just go, if you're listening to this on Wednesday, make it to Saturday without saying a single thing negative about yourself out loud, and just see if you can, and catch yourself when you do.
Yeah.
And every time you do, maybe let's go sit down and journal.
Yeah.
Let's think, why did I think this thing, and how could I stop that from happening next time, or correct myself next time? Because it is active choices and practices. Yeah.
And then go a week. Yeah. And then 2 weeks.
And then a month, and then your whole life.
Yes.
Preferably.
And then forever the rest of your life. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
That would be great. But we're all in this together. It's a practice.
Yes.
It's a journey. It's just something that I feel like every time I talk about confidence, it feels like so almost nostalgic to me, because like I remember longing for it for so long and not realizing it was like practices I actually had to do. I thought I would just wake up one day and be like, oh, I love myself now. Yeah. But that's kind of how it feels. Once you
also feels like a completely different person. Like there's parts of me that almost that has a hard time remembering what that looks like and felt like. Yeah. So then I really have to put myself into that place, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. She was dark.
I never thought I'd be here. Shoot. It's crazy, but I hope this helped you guys. Yes. And just 3 days. Okay. Let's try for 3 days.
This is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
I just love this topic.
I know.
And I wish younger me listened to something like that.
Seriously.
So listen to us.
Please. But we love you guys so much, and you are more powerful than you think.
Bye. Bye.